This is the flagship station of It's time for Columbus State University baseball on the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network. News Radio 540 WDAK. Cougar Baseball is sponsored by Pepsi, Burger King, the Wingate Hotel in Bradley Park, CB&T, and the St. Francis Orthopedic Institute. Now, let's go to the ballpark for Cougar Baseball on News Radio 540 WDAK.
This afternoon, the 8th-ranked team in the country is in town, the Flagler Saints, to take on the Columbus State University Cougars in a Peach Belt Conference 3-game weekend set. Hi again, everyone. Scott Miller above Ragsdale Field at Cougar Stadium on a cold day for baseball here, but an important 3-game series for Columbus State. And Stephen Williams beside me here in the press box, and it is the halfway point for this CSU team in conference play, and dug themselves a little hole and time to start digging out.
Yeah, the first half of the season hasn't gone exactly how they had hoped it would go to this point, but the beauty, as you said, is there is a second half still to go and still plenty of time for them to make up the ground that they need to get to the point where they would like to be when this ultimately is over.
Mackie Mason is our studio producer today. It's a doubleheader today and a single game tomorrow. And a little earlier, I had a chance to sit down and talk with Coach Greg Appleton about this weekend series and the season thus far. Scott Miller back at Ragsdale Field with the Cougars getting set to take on nationally ranked Flagler here this afternoon as the start of a 3-game weekend Peach Belt Conference series. Coach Greg Appleton has joined us here. Greg, it is the halfway point in the conference schedule, still 15 games to go, and dug ourselves a little hole, but certainly nothing that we can't climb out of. Plenty of time left.
Well, that's right, but this weekend is a big weekend, and we're at home. We're playing a very good team in Flagler, who's ranked 8th, and we need to we got to get some games going here. We went 6-9 first half of the season, and so we've got to come out and do a good job in the second half. And we feel like we have the team to do it. We have some good players. We just got to pitch a little bit better, and hopefully we'll get some bounces our way in this half and see how it goes.
A positive has certainly been the offense so far.
Yeah, we have definitely been a better offensive team. But this weekend we're going up against probably the best pitching in the conference. So you can't sit there and say we're going to score 8-9 runs a game because nobody's really done that against these guys. So we're going to have to pitch and play defense and get some good timely hits.
Oh, yeah, the pitching is, it hasn't like it's just fallen off the edge of the earth. It's really been, it looks like from afar, it's been situational. A spot here, a spot there, just not quite up to what it was last year at this point.
Well, yeah, and you're right. We've had some innings where we've given up the big inning, and we never really did that last year. If we give up 1 or 2, now it's been a 3 or 4 run inning in a bad time, and that's kind of been the story of our season in conference games, and so we got to get that turned around. Our pitchers got to keep us in the ball game a little bit better. We can't give up the big inning. We can't make a big error in those times, which we've done. And we got to pitch and play D and keep ourselves in it so that it allow our bats to do the job for us.
Talk about your starting rotation this weekend.
Well, we're going to go with the same rotation that we used last weekend against Lander. We're going to start Jake Ezel in the first game, who's been doing a really good job for us, has kept us in games and pitching well, going deep into the games. And then we'll go with Mike McGinnity in game 2. And I think Mike's trying to turn the corner and pitching better. Last year Flagler kind of beat Mike up a little bit in his start down there in St. Augustine. So hopefully he'll bounce back and has got something to prove to these guys.
And how about tomorrow's game?
Well, we'll go. We're going to stay with the same rotation and go with Brian Headley. We've moved Caden Ferguson, our big lefty, into the bullpen, and he did a good job for us out of the bullpen last weekend, and then kind of given us another guy to go to out of there, and so I kind of like the way we're setting up right now.
Flagler's strength, their pitching?
Yeah, their team ERA is really down there, especially in the conference, and they've got some guys that have been around for a while and with some experience, and they just kind of got it rolling. A lot of guys they have on the team are the same guys they had last year, but they've gotten off to a good start and just kept it rolling, and they have confidence, and there's something about a team that's playing with confidence that makes them better.
Offensively, it looks like contributions from a lot of people so far.
Well, yeah, we've had some guys that have really stepped up and playing well. Brendan Collins, our leadoff hitter, has just had an outstanding year. He's really been our catalyst and is playing excellent baseball. He's hitting the ball well, stealing bases, and Jackson Oliver's having a solid year, and then Mike McClellan has really hit some. He's got 10 homers, just doing a good job for us. And then, Blaine Miller, is kind of our DH last year. Has kind of won that starting catching job and has been doing a good job for us there. But we like our offense. We just sometimes we got to get some guys on base when we hit those long ones. Against Lander in the last game, we hit 3 solo homers. If we'd had a couple guys on, might have made a difference there.
17 days since the last home game. Did you need a map?
No, it's been a while, but it's good to be at home, and I think we're a better team at home, and but we're facing a good team, and that makes a difference. If sometimes when you play at home in those middle of the week games, the opponents aren't quite as strong, but this will be as good a team as we've played all year.
All right, Greg. Good luck.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, Coach Greg Appleton. We'll be back with a play-by-play story from Ragsdale Field. This is Cougar Baseball on the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540.
In blind taste test, consumers are asked to choose which cola taste they prefer.
I usually drink Coke, but the Pepsi was way better than the Coke.
Scott Miller, Stephen Williams back at the ballpark. And, Stephen, this Flagler team has put together an outstanding season, 23-4, 11-3 in conference play, ranked 8th in the country.
And you look at some of the wins that they have on their schedule already. They went and they swept Lander at home. They swept Georgia College. They swept UNC Pembroke. They just came off a victory over a very good top 10 Florida Tech team. So it's a Flagler bunch that's really playing good baseball, and it's not going to be an easy task of anything right now for CSU, even on their home field.
CSU has certainly, offensively, we talked with Greg about it on the pregame show. That has been the positive of the season so far. They have really hit the ball well, scored some runs. But as Greg pointed out, it's going to be a real challenge this weekend because it's a really good pitching staff. You look at their numbers, and they're really good.
Yeah, Flagler pitching staff, Danny Brown, the one that leads the way, and he's the one that will be on the hill today. He's a guy that came out of the gates this season and really was a stud for Flagler. Won Peach Belt Conference Pitcher of the Week on a couple of different occasions very early in the season, was tossing complete games left and right. And this really is a pitching staff that did a lot of what CSU did last year. You look at the ERA, sub-3 ERA down at 2.5. That's tough to do in college baseball.
It really is, and that's the one thing that's been a little bit of a puzzlement for CSU so far on the weekends, at least, is that the pitching, although it's not, as I talked to Greg about, it's not like it fell off the edge of the earth. There's just been situational spots where we got through it last year and we haven't this year.
Yeah, everything's just a smidge worse than it was last year. The starting pitching not quite as good, the bullpen not quite as good, and they're hoping to get that figured out this weekend.
Cougars take the field defensively, and we'll have our national anthem here on this cold day at Ragsdale Field as the fans are here in jackets and sweaters and blankets. They rise for our national anthem. Our national anthem here from Ragsdale Field as Jake Ezel getting set to take the mound, get his warm-up tosses in. What kind of years Jake had so far?
Jake is 3-1 so far in the year. This will be his 5th start, his 2nd straight weekend with a start, pitching in the opening weekend. He has a 3.86 ERA. That's 2nd among the 4 regular starters for CSU. 32 2/3 innings pitched, 15 runs allowed, 33 hits, and 18 strikeouts. He's a big right-hander that throws the ball as hard as anybody on this staff, and for him it's always been about command, and he has had pretty good command so far this year.
All right, the Cougars defensively, Matt Nettles is in left. Brendan Collins, what a year he's having, is in center. Jackson Oliver's in right. Tim Massengale is at third. Blake Edwards is the shortstop. Carson Bowers at second. Chris Daniel at first. Blaine Miller is behind the plate. The wind is very windy today, and it's really sort of a circular wind. It's blowing in different directions. Right now it's blowing right in our face. At times it's blowing straight out to the jet stream to right center, and right now the flags are trying to go to left a little bit, so it's really a swirling wind.
This is more of a February style game than what you would expect for late March.
I'll take the blame for that one, I guess. Our first broadcast, and where we've been having 70s and gorgeous, and here we are in the, I guess, the 50s. I don't know what the first game time pitch temp will be. We can figure that out, but it's, yeah, we seem to have one of these weekends every year. It's 49 degrees right now, 49 degrees.
Yeah, I thought we were done with that, but then we hit, what, the mid-30s overnight, so
yep,
not so fast.
And even a little bit colder tonight than last night, although it will be a little warmer tomorrow. All right, we have getting set here to get today underway, and Andrew Broadbeck, the second baseman, will lead it off for the Saints. And Broadbeck hitting a .359 on the season, and he's got 9 doubles, 18 stolen bases, so a speedster. And the first pitch from Ezel is downstairs for ball 1, and we are underway at 1:04 this afternoon. Jake gets the sign from Blaine Miller, and the next pitch is low and inside, and it's 2-0.
Jake, a guy with a very good fastball, works it in and out, up and down as you'd expect, has a sharp breaking ball, not a big curveball, but more of a slider type pitch. That's his go-to.
The 2-0 pitch on the way from Jake. Fastball stayed high, and he's behind in the count, 3-0. Well, I'm starting the game with the window open. I may have to rethink that decision. The 3-0 pitch is right in there at the knees on the corner, 3-1.
Well, you know, I'm not even messing around.
Yeah, I know. Well, I started, my window was wide open right before we took the field, and now I've brought it down a little bit. I may just have to give up the ghost on that one. Swing and a miss, had a big cut on the 3-1 pitch and runs the count full at 3-2. He steps back in there. So Jake has battled back to run the count full, and the payoff pitch is on the way, bounced up there and back to the screen. That's ball 4, and the speedy Broadbeck hustles to first. Miller back to get the ball back to Ezel, and a leadoff walk. And that will bring up the designated hitter, Colin McMillan. McMillan, a .371 hitter on the season. He's got 8 doubles, 19 RBIs. He also hits from the left side of the plate. We'll see how the Saints want to play it here in the very first inning. Broadbeck with a lot of speed at first, gets his lead, and the pitch tails away for ball 1.
These two played a very high-scoring series when they got together in St. Augustine last year. I think the lowest winning score was 8 runs in that series.
The Saints team batting average is .313 compared to .337 for CSU, but their ERA 2.50 compared to 4.54.
That's a number you just don't see.
It's astounding in college baseball. Gets his lead over there, leaning a little bit. Now Jake will throw over, close, but he's back in safely.
And what makes it more impressive is the competition they've done it against. You know, they've already gone up against a very good, as we found out, hitting UNC Pembroke team. They did it against a good Lander team, a good Georgia College bunch. And it's not like, you know, they're throwing against awful competition.
Runner gets his lead at first. Throw back a little closer this time, but he's back safely. Throw was in the dirt a little bit. Chris Daniels scooped it up. That wind at the moment howling left to right. Hardy fans today. 1-0 pitch, low and inside, 2-0.
Think about the shock of coming up from St. Augustine, being on the beach where I'm sure it was nice and warm, and now you're back playing in mid-February weather.
I'd like to say that'd be an advantage for us, but it's kind of a shock to our system, too.
Well, we did go to Pembroke.
Well, that's true. That seemed like a long time ago, though, doesn't it? The 2-0 pitch is in there for a called strike, 2-1.
The way that weekend went, I'm glad it's a long time
ago. Isn't that the truth? Well, my last CSU baseball game I broadcast ended at about 2 in the morning in so foggy you couldn't see the outfield. And there's a pulled ball foul down the first base side, way out in front of that one, 2-2. And my next broadcast, it's in the 40s in the last weekend in March. I can't get this weather thing squared away.
I think the last one I did with you was when we were at Aiken in the conference tournament. It wasn't warm that night.
It wasn't warm that night.
It was rainy.
It was a late night, too.
We finished post-midnight.
Yeah. Jim Cantori is going to start showing up at our baseball games. We keep this up. Runner leads from first again. The 2-2 pitch popped him up on the infield. Shortstop Blake Edwards on the edge of the outfield grass, shielding his eyes from the sun, and makes the catch.
Oh, he fought that sun from the moment that ball left the bat, and I don't think he still can see straight probably now after he stared straight up into it.
Yeah, no angels up there, just a beautiful blue sky. Here is Lorenzo Butler, the center fielder, .377 on the season. 4 doubles, 2 home runs, 30 RBIs. Leads their club in that category. Again, Broadbeck with good speed. Throw over the first. A little closer that time, but he's back in there safely. Broadbeck is perfect. 18 for 18 in the stolen base department. Gets his lead. And the pitch in there for a called strike, so he gets ahead of his first batter here in the inning.
You know, we looked at it, and obviously the year hasn't gone as the Cougars would have hoped, as Greg Appleton hoped this game would, or this season would go so far, and he's made some interesting changes to the way his starting lineups have gone here for the weekend.
Throw in the dirt, nice scoop over there by Chris Daniel.
Chris Daniel, one of those changes he's made. Jake Ezel, the first one that you see when you go out there. That's been Mike McGinnity's spot for a year and a half since he's been in a Cougar uniform. They took him out of it last weekend when they went to Lander, move Jake into the top spot, move Mike back. They've just made some changes. They tug at the strings.
Big jump at first, ground ball to the shortstop, one play on the first, and he got him there. Stayed out of the double play by sending the runner.
But you look, you have a change at the starting rotation at the top. You have a change at first base, a change at shortstop, and a change at third as Greg Appleton maneuvers things around.
Nick Kranick, the right fielder, 350 hitter on the season. 7 doubles, a home run, 16 RBIs. So 2 down now and a runner in scoring position for the Saints. Brian Headley will fill out the rotation, be the third man for tomorrow's game 3. The pitch is in there for a called strike.
And that was one of the things about last year's club. You knew day in and day out who was going to the mound, and they were going to do their job and get you 6 strong, 7 strong innings, 2 or 3 runs, and get out of there. That was the thing that's kind of missing this year.
We didn't have to get the lineup card to know what the lineup was going to be, did we?
No, not at all.
Check of the runner out there. Edwards cutting in behind him at second. The pitch is downstairs. 1-1. So there's a big hole on the left side of the infield with Blake shading over toward the bag to try to hold the speedy Broadbeck close in case there's a base hit. Try to have a play at the plate. The 1-1 pitch. That just missed outside, 2-1.
It's just the 5th game that Blake Edwards has started all year at the shortstop position. He'd won a gold glove at third base last year and had been there for most of the year, but he's taken over for Ryan Eiley, one of the newcomers, and they've let Tim Massengale slot in over at third, just changing things around.
The 2-1 pitch, off speed way outside, and it's 3-1. 3:35 down the lines, 4:03 to Deadaway Center here at Ragsdale Field at Cougar Stadium, where next year it'll be Burger King Stadium at Ragsdale Field. We can't wait to get the construction underway this summer, and great renovation planned here. 3-1 pitch is way outside, ball 4. So Jake's struggling, throwing a lot of pitches here in this inning, a couple of walks.
Yeah, it's already 18 for him.
Here's the third baseman, Todd Giuliano. He is a .388 hitter, leads their club in that category. 2 home runs, 12 RBIs. He hits from the right side of the plate, little guy. Runners lead from first and second, 2 down, top of the first. Pitch misses low and away, 1-0.
This is what Jake has kind of fought throughout his 3 years here. It's been about fastball command, and you got to be ahead in the count. Doesn't matter how hard you throw. If you're not in the strike zone, you won't be effective.
Takes a peek back at the runner at second, and the 1-0 pitch is in there at the knees for a called strike, and it's even at 1-1.
You look at what he'd done already in 32 and 2/3 innings. He'd only given up 12 walks this year. So this is uncharacteristic of what he's done here in his senior campaign.
The next pitch, tails inside, 2-1. You know, it's the temperature, game time temperature 49. The wind chill makes it even colder than that. So I don't know if he's having trouble gripping the baseball maybe because of the cold weather.
Well, he's out there in short sleeves, so I believe they all are for the most part.
The 2-1 pitch on the way to the plate. That's a strike on the outside corner. That's a perfect pitch right there, 2-2.
If he could live there, he'll be in great shape today.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Working with 2 umpires, of course, regular season. So Ezel trying to work his way out of some trouble here. 2 on via the walks, 2 down. And the 2-2 pitch on the way, called strike 3. So good job by Jake getting into and out of trouble here in the first. Strands a couple of runners out there. The Saints failed to score. The Cougars just now coming into bat. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540 WDAK.
You're busy.
Studios, and leading it off will be Brendan Collins. And what a year Brendan has had in that leadoff slot. 410. He's got 50 hits already, 12 doubles, 3 home runs, 24 RBIs, and 19 out of 19 in the stolen base department.
It's okay, right?
Yeah, that'll work. He shows bunt and takes the first pitch from Danny Brown outside of 1-0. I mean, he is just the perfect leadoff man. Having an outstanding year. The 1-0 shows bunt, and he bunts right through it. And the count is even at 1-1.
How about a leadoff hitter that's second on the team and runs batted in?
Yeah. That means everybody through the lineup's getting on base. He's got people on when he get back around to him. The 1-0 in on his hands, popped it up foul territory. The catcher, Baez, gives it a great try, but it hits the warning track before he could get there.
You know, what's happening right now with Brendan Collins and Mike McClellan, who leads this bunch and runs batted in, kind of reminds you 2 years ago what Cameron Scott and Ryan Lewis did. The leadoff hitter that led the country in runs, the number 3 hitter that led the country in RBIs, they're kind of doing the same thing right now.
The 1-2 pitch on the way, breaking ball way outside in the dirt, trying to get him to chase a bad one, wouldn't have any part of it. 2-2. Two-two pitch on the way, swing and a miss, had him out in front on that one and struck him out.
Yeah, that was a nasty slider there. It looked just like the fastball, and Brendan was fooled the entire way.
So one down here, and here's Jackson Oliver. Jackson 347 on the season, 4 home runs, 22 RBIs. First pitch swinging in on his hands and fouled it back to the screen. And the count is 0-1. Jackson set the bar pretty high last year for himself individually, didn't he? The 0-1 pitch, fouled back to the screen.
And he's put together another nice year. He really has had a fine 3 years in a CSU uniform.
He digs back in there from the left side of the plate, takes it away. And the count goes to 1-2.
Danny Brown, the right-hander on the hill, is 6-2 for the year, a 2.53 ERA. How about 57 innings for him?
1-2 is downstairs, 2-2.
57 innings. He's only started 7 games. He's made 8 appearances. So you do the math on how many innings per game this guy's throwing.
Wow. 2-2 pitch on the way. Fouled back to the screen. I didn't know we were going to have to do math now.
All right, I apologize.
That's why I have this job, you understand. You should know me well enough by now.
Where's the calculators? I think it's somewhere around 7 to 8 innings per start for him so far.
All right, thank you. Whew. Man,
That's
pressure
just
already.
That's just a guess.
The 2-2 pitch is ripped into right field for a base hit between the second baseman and first baseman, and the right fielder Kranick gets it back in a hurry. So Jackson pulls one in the hole, and that will bring up big Mike McClellan, 365 hitter on the season, 11 home runs and 45 RBIs, leads the club in both categories.
This guy's just fun to watch hit, because you never know what he's going to do when he steps in that batter's box.
Very appropriately, he's got his first 2 buttons on his shirt undone.
It's got to be loose.
Swing and a miss, a big cut.
If they weren't undone before the pitch, they were going to be undone with that first swing.
You're right, he is fun to watch. And he has had some throw over the first, back safely. He's had some rather important home runs.
And some of the balls he's hit this year out of this place have just been humongous.
The 0-1 lays off of it inside, and it's 1-1.
You know, when they deadened up the bats a little bit, it kind of took away from the show people would put on here with the Cunningham Center out there in left field. But Mike is bringing that back a little bit.
Wind blowing straight in now on a swirling day. Swing and a miss. A ball and 2 strikes.
I mean, Mike started the season off on an absolute torrid pace, hit 3 home runs in a game at UNC Pembroke earlier this year. He slowed off a little bit, but when you cool off and still have 11 home runs and you've driven in 45, you're doing okay.
Throw to first, and Jackson got back easily. The 1-2 pitch. Oh, called strike 3. Mike might have thought that was a little low. Looked like that from up here, but he gets him on the 3rd strike.
They did give Jake a little room there, it seemed like, in the top of the first inning, but that, I think, had the corner enough. But Mike's a big guy.
His kneecaps are up there a little bit. All right, 2 down on a couple of strikeouts, and here's the catcher, Blaine Miller. And Blaine having a fine year, 397, 4 home runs, 18 RBIs. It's from the right side of the plate. Throw first, close, and he got him. Picked him off. And no argument from first as Jackson Oliver picked off to end the inning. So nothing doing for the Cougars. We've played 1 here at Ragsdale. Flagler nothing, CSU nothing. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. All right, second inning here. Ragsdale has game 1 of today's doubleheader. Nothing game. 1 game in the league last night. Armstrong went to North Georgia and won 2-1 in the battle of the first 2 teams in the league. Armstrong now 13-2, North Georgia 12-4, and as we said, Flagler comes in here 11-3.
It's so odd to look at the top of those standings.
Yeah.
I mean, the usual suspects aren't there. Aiken, Georgia College, Columbus State, Lander. It's just not the usual suspects at the top.
All right, the shortstop, Nick Oberg, will lead it off for the Saints here in inning number 2. Jake had some control problems in the first inning, couple of walks, able to get out of it. Let's see what this inning brings. A first pitch strike to Mr. Oberg, who is hitting .315 on the season, 9 RBIs. Struck out 18 times. Jake Pierce over the glove, gets the sign from Blaine, and the breaking ball just misses outside. Had him flinching, laid off of it though.
Yeah, that's his go-to out pitch right there. That's the strikeout pitch. Very sharp, working left to right.
1-1 pitch is in there for a called strike, 1-2.
Came back to it and threw a better one that time that was in the zone.
If you haven't been out to the house today and you're looking out and it's a beautiful day, you're thinking about coming to the ball game, come on out, but don't be fooled by the way it looks from inside the house. The pitch is fouled back to the screen, ball and 2 strikes. You'll need a big jacket and a blanket today.
A lot of youngsters at the ballpark today. More than usual.
Those young people handle the cold better than us old guys anyway. The 1-2 bounce toward the shortstop. Edwards fields, throws, and he got him. 1 down here in the second. And that will bring up Sean Hendon, the left fielder. 298 on the season, 14 RBIs. So a game time temperature of 49, and the wind chill takes it down even colder than that. Well, that wind brisk today. Pitch is downstairs, 1-0. Wonder what the weather's like at Pembroke today. That's where Young Harris is.
I looked right for the same thing.
The 1-0 sharply hit ball back through the box up the middle for a base hit. Spun to Ezel around, couldn't get his glove on it. And that's the first hit for the Saints. And we'll bring up the first baseman, Skylar Fox. 277 on the season, 2 home runs and 18 RBIs. Hits from the right side. Hendon is on at first with 1 down. To the belt, to the plate. There's a strike at the knees.
Would you believe me if I told you that their temperature was the exact same as ours? That's not supposed to happen.
That's not fair. That is simply not fair.
50, and they have clouds. So.
Yeah, well, it probably feels a little cold. It depends on what the wind's doing up there, though. Swing and a miss. Had him out in front on that one.
Feels like 45.
Yeah, so about the same.
That's just should not happen.
It should not happen, no. Wonder what the Saints are missing in St. Augustine today. One of my favorite towns, by the way. Pitch is downstairs. 1-2. I love history, and that's a place to, if you love history, it is a good place to visit.
A sunny 61.
Yeah, it's a little cold for them too, isn't it? The 1-2 misses inside, 2-2. When we were there for basketball, it was really cold. There's a little shop, ice cream and hot chocolate shop right next to the gym that they had world famous hot chocolate, so the sign said. I visited that before the game. The 2-2 misses outside, 3-2. Sign said world famous hot chocolate, so I went inside and congratulated them on that. And then got some, and you know, it was okay.
Didn't blow you away.
I was a little disappointed. I thought it was world famous. A 3-2 pitch is bounced into right field just off the glove of Carson Bowers for a base hit.
Bowers needed about, what, an extra inch on the glove there, and he probably has that one in the webbing for at least 1 out.
So Hendon stops at second, and Fox is on with the second hit in the inning, and the number 9 hitter, Igor Baez. 293, 12 RBIs. Broadbeck waiting on deck, so second straight inning that Jake Ezel's had a couple of runners on, walked 2 in the first inning, giving up 2 singles here in the second inning. Just 1 down. Swing and a foul. 0-1. Yeah, that was, I needed that hot chocolate, as it turned out, to have to climb up to the top of the bleachers in their Flagler's gymnasium with no steps. Check that runner. The 0-1 is just missed. Boy, he's been giving that pitch in the first part of this ball game. Not right there.
I don't know if he thought it was low, because Baez is a big guy, but so is Mike.
Mm-hmm. And the count is even at 1-1. The wind blowing straight in at the moment. Check of the runner at second, and the 1-1 is ripped way foul, way out in front of it. Don't throw that one again. A ball and 2 strikes. Had him way out in front, though. They're getting ready to have the big 500th anniversary of the founding of St. Augustine. The King of Spain is supposed to be in attendance. Pitch in the dirt. Good job by Blaine Miller to block it and keep it out in front of him.
I believe I remember hearing you talk about that when y'all were down there before. That's quite the ordeal.
Yeah, it really is. Of course, Juan Ponce de Leon trying to find the fountain of youth on the island of Bimini in the Caribbean. Got off course a little bit and ended up there. The 2-2 pitch misses outside. 3-2. So again, a lot of pitches from Jake here in this inning.
He's already up over 40 for his outing so far. That's not the recipe for a deep outing.
Run the count full to the number 9 hitter. Runners lead from first and second. And the payoff pitch missed way outside and skips all the way back to the screen, and that will load the bases. And back to the top of the order. That's the 3rd walk already issued by Ezel here. Broadbeck walked to lead off the game. Ended up being stranded. So there's a Saint at every base. And Jake taking his time. He will work from the full windup. There's just 1 down in the inning. And the pitch kicks away from Miller and all the way to the screen, and the run will score from third. 1-0 Flagler. Down in the dirt. May have kicked off his shoe. Sharp angle back to the screen. And Hendon scores. Fox to third, Baez to second. And the 1-0 pitch, swing and a miss, 1-1.
Maybe the most costly thing out of that was the fact that he took the double play and the force outs away.
Tim Massengale is even with the bag at third. Chris Daniel in on the grass, just short of the grass at first. They would come home if the ball's hit to them. If the runner Fox tries to make it home. Pitch again low and inside. And it's 2-1.
And that's where he's missing right now, is on that low and inside to a lefty, low and away, which means he's kind of yanking the ball a little bit, holding on to it a little too long, and the release point's not sharp at the moment.
2-1 pitch on the way. There's a line drive in the right field for a base hit. That will get 1 run home. They're going to hold the other runner, and runners on the corners. He got the green light to begin with from the third base coach, but then threw up the stop sign at the last moment, and it's 2-0.
I think the only reason he doesn't score there is because you have the big catcher trying to lumber around the bases, because you could see it was going to get down the whole way, so they didn't have to freeze on a line or anything. But big guy running from second.
So Baez stops at third, and Broadbeck with speed at first. And Colin McMillan, who popped to the shortstop his first time up. 2 runs are in for Flagler, and first and third, and still just 1 down. To the belt and to the plate, rolled it toward the hole at second, and off of the glove of Bowers into right field. Everybody's safe, and another run in. It's 3-0. Couldn't have walked out there and placed that one any better. Broadbeck stops at second. So 4 hits and a walk in the inning.
You wonder how long it is before Greg Appleton trots somebody down to that bullpen.
Lorenzo Butler, the center fielder, grounded to short his first time up. There's a fastball that just missed outside, 1-0.
If there's a silver lining to the fact that you had to reassemble your starting rotation for the weekend, and it wasn't because of injury, it's that you do have an extra starter that is down there. If you need somebody to go give you big innings, you have someone available.
The 1-0 pitch, that's in at the knees on the inside corner, and the count is even at 1-1.
Greg has always been a guy, though, that has trusted his starter to go and kind of dig himself out of a jam, sometimes to a fault, but as a pitcher, you love the confidence that he instills in you that, hey, I'm going to let you try to get yourself out of your own mess.
The 1-1 is downstairs, 2-1. We've well documented the offense that the Cougars have this year, but also just equally documented of the outstanding pitching they're facing here today too. So can't afford to fall too far behind. Just the top of the second though. Check of the runner out at second, and the 2-1 breaking ball sweeps way outside, and it's 3-1. Now a dangerous count here to the number 3 hitter. Butler digs back in there. Three-one pitch on the way. There's a fastball on the outside corner for a called strike. That runs the count full, 3-2.
Put it in a good location there. I'm sure you had a hitter in Butler who was sitting dead red, middle of the plate. Put that one on the outer half.
Inning started innocently enough with a ground out to the shortstop, and then a single, a walk, and 2 more singles. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. Went up and in on him.
That shows you right there, if you're Jake Ezel, just be around the zone. You have good enough stuff that they're in a hitter's count with nowhere really to put him. You went with back-to-back challenge fastballs and got a strikeout. You've got to stay around the mitt.
And the second strikeout for Jake. Now a chance to get out of this with some damage control here. Nick Kranick walked in the first inning. And the first pitch, an inside-out swing, fouled away over toward the tennis courts, 0-1.
Only 28 strikes, though, with 26 balls. So that 1-to-1 ratio, it's not good to see.
Ezel taking his time out there, back up on top now. Gets a sign from Miller. And the 0-1 pitch. Way outside. Count even, 1-1. Division II basketball. Women wrapped up last night with their national championship game. The men's this afternoon. Check of the runner out at second. And the 1-1 pitch. Missed outside, 2-1. Three runs have scored in the inning for Flagler, top of the second. 3-0. 2-1 pitch way high and outside. 3-1.
And that's been the problem right now. It's not that he's missing, but when he misses, it's not close. So you're not tempting the hitter to go out and chase something. He's not been around the zone.
Looked like he just tried to muscle up a little too much on that one. Again, taking a long look in. Has the sign he likes. And the 3-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. Got the runner caught off from second and a rundown now. Throw back to second. Running him back to third. Now he's headed back to second. Throw back there, and they will tag him out. So some sloppy base running, and the Cougars get out of the inning. But the Saints pick up 3 runs. And we go to the bottom of the second here at Ragsdale with Flagler leading Columbus State 3-0. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. Bottom of the second inning, game one of our doubleheader today. Flagler has struck first for 3 in the top of the inning. And Blaine Miller, who was at the plate when Jackson Oliver was picked off to end the first inning. First pitch swinging, bounced to short. One hopper. Fields throws, and he got him. Nick Oberg with the play. 1 pitch, 1 down.
Well, that's how the top half of this inning started, so maybe we can do the exact same thing.
There you go. Here's Chris Daniel, the first baseman. And Chris, 378 hitter, 10 RBIs. He hits from the left side of the plate. First pitch from Brown. Strike on the outside corner.
Chris, one of those guys that's really hit his way into a starting spot. He was kind of a guy that had been used off the bench or in a third game or so of a weekend, but put into the starting lineup, moved Mike McClellan from first base to the designated hitter spot.
The 0-1 misses inside, 1-1.
And I believe they put him in the lineup to start last weekend, and he had a 3-run home run and a 2-run double in the game, and so that will keep you in the lineup.
Junior out of Guntersville, Alabama, and then just missed inside. 2-1. Yeah, you're pushing the right button when you insert somebody in the lineup, and he does that. 2-1 pitch on the way from Brown is in there for a called strike, 2-2.
That's the thing about this offense. There's so many good parts. It's almost tough to try to choose the 9 that you're going to stick out on the field.
That's a good problem to have. A 2-2 will not be made. Time is asked for and granted. Yeah, and you'd say, well, that gives you a deep bench, good pinch hitting ability, except for the DH doesn't come into play that much. There's a bouncing ball through the hole at first into right field for a base hit just out of the diving reach of the second baseman Broadbeck.
What it does allow you to do, though, is when a guy does get cold or somebody's not playing well, there's a chance to give somebody else an opportunity, and it really keeps the sense of urgency up. When I go out there, I better play well, or I may not have my starting spot anymore.
There's somebody waiting in the wings that could step out there.
Well, here's an example of that walking the plate right now.
Matt Nettles. 381 on the season. 5 home runs, 22 RBIs. Pitch misses outside, 1-0.
And this is a guy that wasn't the starting left fielder when they came out of January practice. He wasn't the starter in the opening weekend. He's only started 17, now 18 games of 29. But you look at what he's done offensively, he's won that job back after being the starter there last year.
Swing and a miss. A little tentative on that one. 1-1.
What's really been impressive about him, too, is look at the 5 home runs. Second on the team from one of the smaller guys and a guy that really didn't show much power at all last year.
The 1-1 breaking ball dropped right in there for a called strike. A ball and 2 strikes. Brown checks the runner at first. Daniel gets his lead over there. The 1-2 pitch just missed outside. Good job by Matt to lay off of that one.
I believe that's 3 straight off-speed pitches, a couple of change-ups and a breaking ball.
2 balls, 2 strikes. 2-2 pitch on the way. In on his hands and fouled it off at the plate. We were talking about earlier in the game when Mike McClellan was up and his long clouts that he has, and talking about the Cunningham Center throwback over, and with the change of the bats a few years ago, you didn't see quite that much power. When I look out of that building, I always think about Jason Rogers, our first major leaguer. He used to pepper that building all the time. There's a pitch that hits him so far inside it was outside. Hit him on the backside of the leg.
That's a thank you very much, and go on down after he had fooled him a couple of times in the at-bat.
So a hit batter puts runners at first and second with just 1 down. And Carson Bowers, a .358 hitter, 4 home runs, 22 RBIs on the season. 4 home runs from this little guy.
You mentioned Jason Rogers, too. That's a guy that's competing for a starting spot and really a roster spot. And fingers crossed for him right now.
Yeah, he's really had a good spring. I was checking his numbers out yesterday, and so he really is having a good spring down there with him. Breaking ball in there on the inside corner for a called strike.
I think he was hitting, what, 350 here recently, led the team in that department.
Yep.
They just need to find a position for him to play.
That's it. They're trying first and third. He's even played a little outfield. The pitch is in there for a called strike. 0-2. There was an article that one of the beat writers wrote that he might be the guy next year that steps in for Ramirez when Ramirez retires at third. The 0-2 tried to check his swing, and he is able to do so, says the base umpire. 1-2. Ball and 2 strikes on the Cougar second baseman. The 1-2 in on his hands, bounced it in the left field for a base hit. Going to hold the runner at third, and the bases are loaded.
CSU now, the fortunate one, trying to find the holes. Haven't hit the ball that hard, but hit it in the right spots a couple of times already in the inning.
Daniel at third, Nettles at second, Bowers at first, and here's the shortstop, Blake Edwards. Blake, .321 on the season, 14 RBIs. So maybe the secret to success today is to start the inning by grounding to the shortstop.
Who knew?
Middle of the infield back at double play depth. Breaking ball in on the inside corner for a called strike to Blake.
And Danny Brown does not pitch you in a traditional way. Not a lot of first pitch fastballs. It's a lot of movement in and out. There's a lot of changing of speeds.
He's been pitching what you would consider to be backwards to begin with here. The 0-1 pitch, bounce to the shortstop, could be 2, flipped to second, 1 on the first, not in time. Pulled him off the bag just a little bit, and that will get a run home. It was going to be a bang-bang play anyway. I think he had it beat anyway, but he did pull the first baseman slightly off the bag.
I'm with you. I think he was going to have it regardless. but you'll take it no matter what the way it mattered.
So a fielder's choice RBI for Blake. Christian Daniels scores 3-1 Flagler now. And runners on the corners. And 2 down. And Tim Massengale, the third baseman. Number 9 hitter. Tried to check his swing on the breaking ball. Could not do it. 0-1. Tim, a .303 hitter. 7 RBIs. Just 33 at bats. Throw over to first, and Carson is back safely.
Tim's the guy that's slotted in now that Blake Edwards shifts from third to shortstop. Tim Massengale, the beneficiary of that, and they get his power bat in the lineup.
And breaking ball, swing and a miss. 0-2.
It's probably best you don't put a fastball on the plate for Tim Massengale. This may be the hardest hitting number 9 hitter you'll find at Division II level.
Blake gets his lead at first, and the pitch, breaking ball, misses outside. Count 1-2. Matt Nettles at third, Edwards at first. Throw back to first, and he's back in safely. We're just zipping right along. We're already in the bottom of the second. And the pitch ripped and almost took the head of Matt Nettles off. Foul down the third base line.
Watch your teeth there. He's showing you breaking ball, breaking ball, breaking ball, and he finally comes with a fastball. And you think Tim was waiting for it?
Matt's life was flashing before his eyes down there. Breaking ball laid off of it. And it's 2-2.
Yeah, I think you had to come back with the breaking ball there after the way he jumped on that one.
So evens the count at 2-2. A run is in. Runners at the corners and 2 down. Flagler up 3-1 as we play in the bottom of the second inning. The 2-2 pitch, called strike 3 on the inside corner. So a big strikeout to do some damage control for Danny Brown. But the Cougars do pick up a run, leave a couple on, and we've played 2 here in game number 1. And Flagler's on top of CSU 3-1. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. All right, we head to the third inning here, and Flagler is up 3-1. And first pitch swinging, Kranick slices one down the left field line. Long run, and he drops it in fair territory. Matt Nettles does, and in at second is Kranick. He got there in plenty of time. It was a long run, but just popped right out of his glove.
It's a tough way to have the inning start because it just fell right out of his glove down the line.
And so Kranick is on at second. And Todd Giuliano, the third baseman, struck out swinging his first time up. Need a shutdown inning from Jake, and not a good start there. The drop fly ball in left. Swung on and fouled off at his feet. 0-1. One o'clock start for tomorrow's single game. We'll be back out here for that. We'll take about 30 minutes or so between games today of the doubleheader. In the dirt, well, that's a nice stop by Blaine Miller, who slid out to his right and kept it in front of him. And the count even at 1-1.
Odd to be playing the doubleheader on the front end.
Do that sometimes when a team has a long travel back, as they do, pitches in the dirt.
What it does allow you to do, though, is really set the tone for the whole series on the first day, because Greg Appleton, really a big proponent of telling you after they win the first game on Friday night that really doesn't tell you anything, because you could still lose the series the next day.
So difficult to sweep a doubleheader, isn't it, when you're playing good competition? That's why the coaches would like the 2-1 pitch in the dirt and kicks away from Miller. There goes the runner to the third. He's in there standing. And the count goes to 3-1. I was going to say the coaches would like to play Friday, Saturday, Sunday single games, and it's a budget travel reason in the Peach Belt. That doesn't get done all the time. The 3-1 is downstairs for ball 4. I think we've got Montevallo series scheduled that way because it's a short trip over there. So that's what, 4 walks for Jake now?
I believe so.
And shortstop Nick Oberg grounded to short in the second inning. So in the soup again. First and third and nobody out. Pitch is downstairs. 1-0.
And as soon as your team gives you a run, you'd like to go out there and throw a quick number on the board. And you can't put this all on Jake's shoulders because he should have had the first out. But you got to be able to recover from it at times.
Runners lead. The 1-0 pitch will not be made as Jake looks to third. He stepped off the rubber. Massengale is even with the bag at third. And now Jake can't get a sign he likes, so he steps off of the rubber.
Well, these guys have nowhere to be tonight, I'm sure.
No. Back up on top, the pitch swung on, fouled back to the screen, 1-1.
I mean, we're closing in on the 1 hour mark and haven't even finished 3 innings. Glad you're here, buddy.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. My wife Peggy's probably listening. Might want to move dinner back just a little bit.
Right now we're aiming at what, 9:30?
Yes. Oh man, the 1-1 pitch. It's high and it's 2-1. Welcome back to baseball. Two balls and a strike.
Still nothing in the CSU bullpen.
2-1 pitch, in on his hands, rolled to second, could be 2, flipped to second 1, on the first 2, double play, but the run will score, and the Saints get that run right back, and it's 4-1 Flagler.
The way the inning was tracking, though, you'll gladly exchange 2 outs for a run, especially with it being early here, just the 3rd inning. Just something to get a little momentum in your favor.
He ran that right in on his hands, and he rolled it out to Carson Bowers, who flipped to Blake Edwards, and on to Chris Daniel. No RBI on that, of course. Breaking ball is in there for a strike to Hendon, who singled and scored back in the second. Yeah, at that point, you sure do take the damage control, and it was a good pitch by Jake. And that one in on his hands, fouled it away. 0-2. I thought we might be able to see a little bit of the Elite Eight games on television tonight. The 1-2 misses outside.
That second one's what, like 8:20 something?
Yeah,
tonight?
something like that.
Yeah, I was aiming for that one. I figured the first one's a wash.
Yeah, a ball and 2 strikes. Which game does Kentucky play in?
That's the late one.
Okay, good. The 1-2 in the dirt, way out in front of the plate, and it bounced right between the legs. Back to the screen. Blaine Miller, nobody on, no harm done. 2-2.
I believe it's what, Arizona, Wisconsin in the first one.
Notre Dame and Kentucky. Notre Dame claiming that they're America's team in that game. Give me a break. The pitch is downstairs, and it's 3-2. Notre Dame's a good story, and Mike Bray's certainly a good story. His mother passing away this past weekend, and she was a remarkable woman by all accounts. The 3-2 pitch is high, and there's another walk.
And that's a walk after he started that at bat 0-2.
So 5 walks in the first 2 2/3 innings.
And he's close to half of his season total through 33 innings this year. And he's done it in 2 2/3.
Skylar Fox, the first baseman, singled and scored in the 3-run second inning for the Saints. Flagler leads at 4-1. A terrible swing in on his hands and pulled the trigger. 0-1. Yeah, I'm not sure that Notre Dame could, under any circumstance, be swing on, fouled back to the screen, 0-2, be classified as America's team. Now, they've got a lot of fans across America, but they also have a lot of haters across America as well.
Well, I think that America's team right now is the opposition of Kentucky.
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
think that's it.
So they fit it for the night, but not any much beyond that.
You know, I'm to the point now where they're close enough. I mean, the 0-2 pitch misses inside, 1-2. And I don't dislike Kentucky. I'm not, I'm not a fan of Kentucky, but they're close enough to history, and they are fun to watch. You know, go ahead and do it. I don't have anybody left in the tournament that I'm really a fan of anyway. Pitch just misses. Breaking ball, 2-2.
You didn't have to grow up there, though. I am all for them not doing it.
Yeah, well, you're Tennessee, so you got...
And grew up in Kentucky.
Yeah, grew up in Kentucky. So I get that totally. 2-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. So indeed some damage control here in the 3rd inning, but the Saints pick up another run. And we go to the bottom of the 3rd in game number 1 of our doubleheader today, and Flagler leads CSU 4-1. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. (4-1) Flagler on top of Columbus State as we go to the bottom of the 3rd inning here. And back to the top of the order. Let's see if the Cougars can put a crooked number up here. Brendan Collins, Jackson Oliver, Mike McClellan due up. Brendan struck out swinging his first time up. There's a breaking ball that looked like you needed a 9-iron to hit, but called a strike. The 0-1 ran the fastball in on him, 1-1.
I think there's some chirping from the same variety you're coming from out of the CSU dugout, because the home plate umpire looked over there and kind of held his hands out after he called that first one a strike.
The 1-1 swing and a miss, 1-2. He's been a little inconsistent back there. And in the end, that's all you want. Where's your strike zone, and are you going to be consistent with it all day? The 1-2 swing and a miss had him reaching out on his front foot for that one, struck him out.
And it's not all a result of the bad call on the opening pitch, but that starts that. You know, you put the hitter in a hole. 1-0 is so much different than 0-1, and you really put the hitter behind the 8-ball.
That's 4 strikeouts for Danny Brown. Here's Jackson Oliver. He singled in the first inning, his first time up. Hit it into right field. Swing and a miss.
And a guy that has the stuff of Brown, he doesn't need any help.
No. He's got a 3-run lead as we play in the bottom of the third. Pitches downstairs, and the count is even at 1-1. Takes a long look in over the top of his glove, and the 1-1 pitch is lifted into the outfield in left center. The left fielder taking a strange route, but runs it down nonetheless, just short of the track for out number 2.
I'm not sure he knew that he was going to go get that. I think it looked like the center fielder, Butler, was going to come over and take it from him, and that's what he expected to happen. And then when it didn't, he just had to stick the glove up and hope that he was there in the right spot.
Ended up reaching up over his shoulder to make it a much more difficult catch than it should have been. Here's big Mike McClellan, and he swing and a miss on the first pitch. 0-1. Mike struck out on a called third strike. His first time up today, and the catcher asked for time, and it's granted by the plate umpire. So can anybody beat Kentucky? You Kentucky hater, you?
I don't think so.
Strike is in there. Yeah, I'm not sure they can either, Stephen.
And I say that with all the ultimate defeat in my voice.
Yes. Well, I understand. You have that hits close to home for you. The 0-2 misses outside, 1-2. I will say, though, if I see many more shots of Ashley Judd going crazy in the stands, I might change my view of this thing. Good grief. Give it a rest.
When was the last time she was relevant for something other than a Kentucky fan? Do you know?
No. A ball and 2 strikes. Dickie V's favorite person. Fouled back to the screen.
It's a good thing Kentucky basketball is good because people still know who she is.
Yep. 2 balls, 2 strikes. To Big Mike. Brown's look in, comes to the plate, just missed inside. Brown gets the sign from Baez, and the pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. So another strikeout for Danny Brown. That's 5 on the afternoon through 3 innings. We've played 3 at Ragsdale. It's Flagler 4, Columbus State 1. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. Have played 3 innings. We head to the top of the 4th. 4-1, Flagler on top. Well, I didn't do worth a darn. I got us off to a bad start, so I'm going to turn it over to Steven here, see if he can't dig us out of the hole.
It's the 9-1-2. I'm not going to hold my breath for us, though. And all I promise is that I will try to make it speed up.
Yeah, well,
No other promises.
If you can do that, I will bow down to you, my friend.
Igor Baez, the Saint catcher, digging in on the right side. Hits the first one into right center field. Jackson Oliver loses the lid, but moves over and makes the grab. So 1 pitch, 1 out. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. See, so far, so good.
Jackson ran so fast over there that the old hat wouldn't stay on for him. Has to retrieve that and put it back on. 1 pitch, 1 out. It'll bring Broadbeck to the plate. Andrew Broadbeck, 1 for 1 on the day. An RBI, and also a walk for him as the first breaking ball spins low and inside for ball 1. 4-1, Flagler in front, 4 hits for both sides. But Flagler getting the benefit of some walks and also a CSU error as the pitch misses low. It's 2-0. Left-handed hitter crowding the plate. Fastball down low again. 3 balls and no strikes from Jake Ezell, who's closing in now. He's up above 80 pitches already.
And there is some action now in the bullpen for CSU.
And there is walk number 6 on the day as that pitch wasn't close. So Jake Ezell came into it the season with 12 walks and 33 innings pitched, and he's walked 6 more today. A walk to Broadbeck, the 3rd time he's reached in the game. He stays perfect. A couple of walks and a hit. And Colin McMillan, the designated hitter, steps in on the left side.
I believe that's Sean Muller up in the pen.
Running on the first pitch is Broadbeck. The pitch misses outside. The throw down to the bag is on the money, and Blake Edwards reaches outside of the baseline to put the tag on him. That'll help it out. Good looking throw that time by Blaine Miller, helping his pitcher out. Can't find the strike zone, but he'll erase the base runner, and there's 2 away. That one down low. Caught a piece of Blaine Miller as he blocked it up. Home plate umpire will let him dust himself off.
Blaine's done a nice job back there this year.
He has kind of taken a spot from a starter from last year. Dustin Averett held that spot last year as the pitch is on the outside corner. And that just tells you about the pieces that Greg Appleton's working with. Dustin Averett was his cleanup hitter last year and now can't even scrap the starting 9.
It's a deep club.
2-1 outside corner. Good looking pitch there. 2 balls and 2 strikes. He's out of the plate. The 2-2 reaches out. 1 hopper to third. Massengale to throw on the money in an unconventional 1-2-3 inning for Jake Ezell. The first 0 he's put on the board since the first. And the Cougars coming to the plate trailing 4-1 here on the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. Stephen Williams and Scott Miller back here with you at Ragsdale Field. The Cougars trailing 8th-ranked Flagler 4-1 as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning, but Jake Ezel with the quick inning, and the Cougar bats coming back to the plate. 4, 5, and 6 due up for the Cougars here. Blaine Miller, Chris Daniel, and Matt Nettles. That's the area of the order that got things going for the lone run they had back in the second as Danny Brown starts Miller off with a first pitch breaking ball in the vicinity of the outside corner for strike one. Oh, 1 in the same spot. Miller swings through this one. It's 0-2. Brown really uses that slider well. Sweeps across the zone. Reaching out, fouling this one straight back. It'll stay an 0-2 count.
Just got a piece of that one to fight it off and stay alive.
Wind starting to blow back in as it makes its trip around the ballpark. The 0-2. Brown bounces in the dirt, blocked up by Baez. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Lady Cougar softball team out in the batting cages, out beyond right center field. They'll be at home tomorrow, as the Cougar baseball team will as well. The Lady Cougars taking on Francis Marion, starting at noon tomorrow. Bounces away from Baez in the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes. I believe tomorrow is Kids Day at Cougar Field over for the softball doubleheader. So any of you that have young ladies out there that want to get out on the field, I believe they're letting you come out and hit and pitch with the Cougars after the game for about an hour or so.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Good breaking ball there. Fooled Blaine Miller. He was out in front of it. He'll swing through it. And it's another strikeout for Brown. That's his 6th on the afternoon.
No walks for him yet. He does have 1 hit batter.
He's not yet to 60 pitches, and Jake Ezel is closing in on 90.
Cougar bullpen is quiet at the moment. Muller was up there in the top of the inning.
First pitch to Chris Daniel, the left-hander, is in there for a strike. That time he did start him with a first pitch fastball. The 0-1 rolled on the ground softly to second. Broadbeck coming in, underhand flip, a high flip, made it a close play, but in time to retire Daniel for the second out.
Yeah, he got that ball caught up in his hand a little bit there and let it go late. A little high, but no damage.
So the base is clear, and Matt Nettles to the plate. Matt, the junior outfielder, swings, and it's a high fly ball, right center field. Butler moving into the gap, though, and the ballpark big enough to hold it. On the warning track, Butler runs it down. Nettles gave it a ride, nothing to show for it, though. Cougars go in order, and after 4 here at Ragsdale, it's 4-1. Flagler in front of Columbus State on the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. Hits are even at 4 apiece, but Flagler, the 8th-ranked team in the country, with a 4-1 lead over Columbus State, first of the doubleheader here At Ragsdale Field, Jake Ezel goes to work against Butler. The Flagler center fielder tosses a first pitch fastball down low for ball one to start the fifth.
Talking about March Madness, we've got a nice little promotion March Madness going on.
Fouled off at the plate, a ball and a strike.
Go to the CSU website, csucougars.com. We also have a link on newsradio540.com. March Madness, a little fundraising thing to help the Columbus State Athletic Department out. Fun to play and a chance to help out the student athletes out here.
Big breaking ball. Butler swings through it. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. If you go to csucougars.com, there's a little button on the right side. It says Join the Madness. Click that and you can make your donation. Swing and a miss. Got through Blaine Miller. He'll retrieve it, though, and toss Butler out over at first. Good start to the inning there from Jake Ezel, who maybe is starting to settle in here in the middle innings. So Ezel with a strikeout. That is the 4th of the day for the right-hander, and now Nick Kranick digs in. Kranick started off with the first pitch a little bit inside for ball one. Kranick 0 for 1 in the game so far. Swings through a fastball, a little tardy on it. Comes up empty. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. One pitch. Missed down below the knees. 2 balls and a strike. Perfect blue, clear sky overhead, but the wind still chilly as Kranick swings through it. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Your window is still open.
It is. I'm trying to tough it out.
Is this just a macho thing? You're trying to prove yourself?
That's me all the way.
Pitch is down low and inside to the left-handed hitting Kranick, and the count goes full.
I'm the guy who's walking my dog with a hoodie and gloves on when it's 59 degrees, so yeah, that's macho cold weather thing.
3-2, right over the heart of the plate, and I'm not sure where Kranick thought he was going. He was headed for first base, but that ball looked over the heart of the plate compared to some of the strikes we've had, and it's back-to-back strikeouts.
Jake looks like a different pitcher right now, doesn't he?
Settle in, big fella, and let's ride you the rest of the way. 2 up and 2 down, and it brings Todd Giuliano, the third baseman, to the plate. First pitch, the fastball, sails wide of the mark for ball one. Of course, we should be used to working in these temperatures. It's about what it is in the Lumpkin Center for basketball as the pitch hits the outside corner.
Exactly right.
That was pitch number 100 for the right-hander. The 1-1, a check swing. They say he went around, a ball and 2 strikes. And you're right, there's just a different rhythm right now. Jake working a lot faster as well. Outside corner, too far out though. 2 balls and 2 strikes now as Ezel tries to tally up another scoreless inning, and you're doing math.
Yes, a scary sight, isn't it? There are a lot of winds in the ballpark today.
Just off the inside corner, and the count's going to run full now. 3 balls and 2 strikes on Giuliano. Full count offering, swing and a miss, and how about Jake Ezel's 5th inning? Strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. He strikes out the side, and we're halfway through game number 1 here at Ragsdale Field. 4-1, Flagler in front. Cougars to the plate after this here on the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. Stephen Williams and Scott Miller are back here with you at Ragsdale Field. 4-1. Jake Ezel starting to settle in for the Cougars on the hill, and now it's time for the offense to get to work. Carson Bowers starts off the inning by watching a breaking ball from Danny Brown outside for ball one. Bowers 1 for 1 so far in the game. He's singled through the left side, his only at bat, and he's ahead in the count 2-0 now. I think there's starting to be some smoke coming over here from my right. Your pencil's been moving furiously.
It's on fire, and I'll tell you why in just a moment.
2 balls and no strikes to the Cougars' second baseman. Shows bunt, had no intent to do so, though, and pulled back for a strike.
We know what a great career Coach Greg Appleton has had for CSU, and also before that, his junior college days at Young Harris, a lot of wins.
2-1 pitch, skied in the air in right field. See if the jet stream will help carry it. Backing up, still backing up is Kranick, and he lost it in the sun. It bounces up on a hop up against the wall. Bowers churning around second. He's headed for third. The throw is late, and Carson Bowers has a leadoff triple. Thank you very much. Bright light in the sky.
No clouds out there to help out the fielders, and Kranick just lost it. He was lucky it didn't hit him right on top of the head. It landed behind him and one hopped the fence.
So Bowers with the triple, his first of the year and just the 4th of the season for the Cougars. And now they're going to take wisely some sunglasses out to Mr. Kranick out there in right field, although they're a little too late.
They'll give me time to tell you that we talked about Greg and all of his wins. Dave Barnett, 28th season at Flagler, and one of his assistant coaches, Dusty Rhodes, a legendary coach in the state of Florida and in college baseball. He was the longtime coach at North Florida when North Florida was in the Peach Belt, and we had some great battles with him and his teams.
First pitch to Blake Edwards is swung on and missed.
When you count up the wins with those 3, including Dusty Rhodes' junior college wins and Greg Appleton's junior college wins, 2,714 wins in the ballpark today.
Wow.
That's astounding.
Wow. Lined back through the middle. That's going to get down into center field, and just like that, it takes 2 batters for the Cougars to plate a run here in this 5th inning, and the deficit cut to 2. It's 4-2 Flagler now.
Didn't waste any time there.
Just a good piece of hitting there by Blake. Didn't try to do too much with it. Just reached out, served it into center field. It's 4-2, nobody out. Edwards at first, and Tim Massengale to the plate now. Talk about all the wins. It's similar to what it was when we had, Herbert Green Day up there in the Lumpkin Center for a basketball game, and all the great coaches that were in the building that day, as Massengale takes a big cut and fouls it straight back.
Barnett, with his 23 wins this year, has 821 at Flagler. And you know, those total wins, I didn't dive deeply into his career before Flagler, so that 27-14 might be a little short if he had some before then.
Change up in the dirt, 1 ball and 1 strike to Tim Massengale.
Dusty Rhodes at North Florida won 827 games. Wow. He won 300 games at a junior college before that.
Pick off to first, no tag put down as Blake in front of it, so over 1,100 for him.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Greg now started the season 618 wins here at CSU, and tack 18 onto that.
Pitch in the dirt, good block by Baez behind the plate. It's 2 balls and a strike on Massengale.
And then his 127 up at Young Harris in the junior college days. This has got to be a record. If this is not a record for most wins on a coaching staff on 2 teams.
Breaking ball on the inside corner.
Okay, I have done all the math that can last me for a decade.
Right, and we've already gone over today that you got in this profession so you didn't have to, and I look over, and sure enough, just There you are, tabbing away over there without a calculator. I say that you did that by hand. So
there you go.
Good work by you.
Yeah, thanks.
And check on Edwards. He's back in safely again. 2-2 to Massengale. Pitch from Brown, swing and a miss. Went upstairs and out away, and Massengale could not make contact, and it's another strikeout for Brown. That's his 7th. So we go back to the top of the Cougar order now. And Brendan Collins will go to work. Cougars need him to get going. He's 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts today, as Brown has had him off balance. He tries to bunt. The first one goes too far around. It gets through the catcher Baez, though, and Blake Edwards is going to scoot on down to second base. So started to bunt and couldn't make contact, but it works nonetheless. So pass ball moves Blake Edwards into scoring position. Brendan Collins a chance to drive him home here and get CSU within 1. Line drive into center field. That's down for a hit. They're going to wave Edwards to the plate. Butler, the center fielder, comes up throwing. The throw is late, and Brendan Collins does just that. It's a 1-run game, 4-3 now. Flagler's lead down to 1.
Again, didn't try to do too much with it, just reached out and hit it back where it came from, and battling back again.
So the Cougars already with 2 runs in the inning on 3 hits, and Jackson Oliver at the plate trying to say that the Cougars aren't done yet. Just 1 out in the inning, and a speedy runner on over at first base as they'll check on him, and it looks like there's going to be a mound visit coming up anyway. Guessing this is Jonathan Holt, the pitching coach, on his way out there for Flagler.
Would be my guess, but he has something on over his uniform top, so he doesn't have a number on.
Yeah, it's not very often they give us the numbers for the assistant coaches and the coaching staff, and here we are. It's so cold we can't even see their numbers anyway.
This inning started with a deep fly ball that the right fielder Kranick lost in the sun. It landed on the track between him and the wall. And a leadoff triple for Carson Bowers. And the Cougars have taken advantage of that.
Danny Brown, remember this is a Flagler bunch that came in with a 2.5 ERA, and Brown was just north of that at 2.53. Cougars have gotten to him so far, though. 3 runs on 7 hits. And they're working here, still going in the 5th inning as Brown gets set to go back to work and to deliver pitch number 75. Jackson Oliver at the plate. Brendan Collins, who runs well over at first. They'll check on Brendan, who will dive back in. Brendan is a perfect 19 of 19, as you mentioned earlier, on the base paths. He is really the only Cougar threat in that category. Rolled on the right side, and it gets through the second baseman, Broadbeck. He just pulled the glove up too early and was unable to make the play. It looked like he had that one right in his grabs, and then he just reached up and came up empty.
Would have been an easy out at first. He just pulled the glove up, as you said, too early as he was trying to hurry, and he knew he had a fast guy running at first and couldn't make the play. So another mistake by the Saints.
And now you set the table for Mike McClellan, the junior, transfer from Georgia Southern, set to go to work with 2 on and only 1 out. Product of McDonough, Georgia. Up there now in a run-scoring situation. First pitch, low and inside, and taken for a ball. How quickly the script can flip here in this inning for CSU if Mike could get a big hit here.
Action in the Flagler bullpen now.
The 1-0 pitch went with the breaking ball anyway and threw a good one, and Mike hit it off the cap into the Flagler dugout. Danny Brown already this season has 4 complete games in 7 starts. They were not expecting to have to get anybody up this early in a game. Collins at second, Oliver at first, 1 away in a 4-3 game, CSU trailing by a run. Mike out in front of that one again, couldn't make contact with it. He's down in the count 1-2.
Appears to be Chris Lake. It is. Right-hander.
Mike has already struck out twice today, trying to avoid a third one here. Fouled it off into the netting on the right side. And it stays a 1-2 count. The youngster count in the crowd continues to climb. They had, the Odyssey of the Mind? I still don't have a complete grasp as to what that is, but it's something on campus today. Mike gets this one in the air to right field. Routine right field, though, for Kranick. No issues with the sun with the new shades on, and he'll make the play for out number 2.
That's a good point about the sunglasses. Of course, they brought sunglasses out to him after he lost the ball. And so I don't know why you don't start the day with sunglasses on a day like today anyway.
So 2 down, it'll be up to Blaine Miller to try to keep the inning going and to try to tie the game for CSU. Still a couple of runners on, but 2 away now. Brennan Collins obviously runs well. He's the one in scoring position, so a chance with a base hit to tie this game at 4. Blaine swings through the first one, and guess what? It was another breaking ball, 0-1. Blaine 0 for 2 in the game to this point. A strikeout one of those 2 times. Also rolled over on a ground ball to shortstop. The 0-1, there's a fastball, and it almost fools you when he does come with the fastball now. Is that one in there? It's 0-2. Runners take their lead, so Jackson Oliver not being held on at first. Brendan Collins lightly held on, and there's a front door breaking ball, rings up Blaine Miller. So the Cougars threaten, get 2 runs back, but they leave 2 on the base paths after a fly out and a strikeout to leave the 2 runners on. CSU back in the ball game, though. It's a 1-run game here at Ragsdale. 4-3. Cougars trailing by 1 after 5 here on the flagship station, the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. So the Cougars get 2 of them back, and they've made a ball game of this one. It's 4-3, Flagler in front. Game 1 of a 3-game series. Still a ton of time if you're out driving around the Columbus area to get yourself out to the ballpark. This is not the only game today, so plenty of baseball still to be played.
And we mean plenty of baseball still to be played.
For better or for worse, right?
There you go. Looks a little better right now.
Nick Oberg will start things off in the top of the 6th for the Saints, as the first pitch from Jake Ezel is high and tight on a fastball for ball 1.
Aiken leads Montevallo 2-1 in the top of the 2nd.
Inside, 2-0.
Georgia Regents up 3-2 on Georgia Southwestern after 6. Pembroke 4-0 on Young Harris in the top of the 7th.
2-0 pitch lined into right field and deep. Jackson Oliver cruises over to his left, though, and he'll make the grab. So hit hard, but right at Jackson Oliver, and he'll make the play. You brought him up, and so now I want to talk about it for a second. We've talked about all the things that Flagler has done this year, all the great teams that they've beat. They swept Georgia College, they swept Lander, rolled right through a bunch of the Peach Belt Conference teams as the first pitch to Hendon is up high for a ball. Then you look at their schedule, and 2 of their 4 losses to Young Harris, who is 10-18 on the season. Explain that one to me.
I can't, other than saying that's baseball. That could be one that they look back and really rue.
Strike, and now another strike on a swing and a miss there. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And we watched Young Harris come here, and CSU just bludgeoned them 44-5 in a 3-game series, and that it could have been a lot worse. Time called at the plate by Hendon, so it'll stay a 1-2 count. But sure enough, Flagler lost both games of the first doubleheader to Young Harris as the pitch misses away.
Lost 6-5 and then 1-0.
I was up at Young Harris last weekend with the softball team and talking with Michael McEachern, their sports information director there. As you ring up Hendon, as Jake Ezell starting to roll right along again, strikes out his 7th of the day. But I was talking with Michael McEachern up at Young Harris, and he was saying, you know, we have 2 good starting pitchers, and that's about it. So apparently the 2 good starting pitchers threw 2 good games, and they stole 2 from Flagler, who at the time was sitting on top of the conference.
Mm-hmm.
This one rolled on the ground by Fox to short, and Blake Edwards mishandled it. Ball hopped up into his waist area and dropped, and it'll be an error on the Cougar shortstop.
Second error on the day for CSU.
That's a rare one on Blake Edwards, who I believe went all of conference play last year, 30 games at third base with 1 error. Thus the reason he won that All-America Gold Glove. Jake Ezell, though, you need to go get this guy right now. Igor Baez, the number 9 hitter in the order. You don't want to flip it back to the top. Fox on with 2 outs, and he's going to flare one. Baez will into right field for a base knock. Inside out of the first pitch, and there's 2 on with 2 outs. Pitch tied him up, but got the hands through enough to send it into right field. 5th hit on the day. And there's 2 on as they flip the lineup back to the top for Andrew Brodbeck, who they've yet to retire. First one to Brodbeck, off the outside corner, taken for ball 1. Brodbeck, a single, a run batted in, and 2 walks. One-0 pitch, popped up into right field, shallow and on the line. Carson Bowers from second base drifting over into foul territory will make the grab and get the Cougars out of the inning. So a 2-out error and a base knock don't come back to hurt CSU. They're headed back to the plate, trailing 4-3 after 5.5 here on the flagship station, the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. 4-3, number 8 Flagler leading Columbus State in the first of our doubleheader here on News Radio 540 from Ragsdale Field. Cougars back to the plate though. 2 runs in the bottom of the 5th, and they'll try to tie the game up and then some here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Five, 6, and 7 due up in the Cougar order. Chris Daniel will start things off against Danny Brown, who's tossed 83 pitches through 5 innings. First one to Daniel, lined into left field. Inside out swing, and it's a leadoff base hit for Chris Daniel.
Good start to the 6th.
Just a good looking swing there from the first baseman. Didn't try to do too much. Lined it into left, and Matt Nettles comes to the plate now. We'll see if Greg Appleton chooses to play small ball and try to get the runner into scoring position. Matt Nettles at the plate, not bunting. Takes the first one inside for a ball.
Jake Ezell, after a shaky first 3, a solid next 3 to keep his team in the game.
Change up, drops off the plate outside. 2-0 to Matt Nettles now. You get 2 runners on here, you'd really be in business as that bullpen gets moving again. 2-0 pitch. That one splits the middle. 2 balls and a strike. Both bullpens starting to fill up a lot more than they were.
That's Chris Lake again. He was up earlier for the Saints.
2-1 to Nettles. Inside corner. Nettles backs away as if he didn't like the call, but it's 2-2 nonetheless. I think Caden Ferguson's the one standing up, dancing around in the CSU bullpen as they check on Daniel at first, but he's in there safely. He is the excess starter now from the weekend, with Jake Ezell getting the nod, so. The 2-2. Nettles lines it into right field. That's down for a base hit. Chris Daniel's going to come around second. He's headed for third. The throw will not be in time. Daniel dives in ahead of the throw, and Matt Nettles singles them to the corners with nobody out.
Chris Daniel never slowed down, waved all the way to third, and drew a throw that was off to the outfield side.
And the Cougars in business now, trailing by just a run. It's 4-3 Flagler, but CSU with runners on first and third, and nobody out with Carson Bowers digging in. That'll build the sense of urgency up in that Flagler bullpen. Brown operating out of the stretch. First one to Bowers, lined into center field. That's down, and we have ourselves a tie ball game. Nettles around second. He's headed for third. He's in there safely, and they've got Bowers hung up, and he'll dive back in ahead of the throw over at first base. So the Cougars trade places. They're back at the corners with nobody out in a tie game.
Good job by Carson to not get caught too far off. He was able to slam on the brakes when the throw was cut off and just got back in there.
It's a brand new ball game now. The Cougars have scored 3 straight, 2 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, and now they'll try to keep the scoring going. Still nobody out, and Blake Edwards now coming up. First pitch from Brown hits the outside corner, a called strike 1. CSU being much more aggressive in this inning, going after pitches early in the count, and it's paid off for them. The 0-1 to Blake. Reaches out, flares one to right, but it's just foul. I had trouble written all over it, but on the foul side of the bag. 3 straight singles to start the inning. Chris Daniel started it off, then it was Matt Nettles, and then Carson Bowers. Edwards makes it 4 straight as it's down the line. That's a fair ball in left. 1 run comes in to score. Bowers cruises into third. Blake to second. It's an RBI double and the Cougars lead. How quickly the tables have turned now in CSU's favor as the Cougars on a hitting streak here, 4 consecutive knocks. It's 5-4, Columbus State in front. And now Dave Barnett, the Flagler head coach, on his way out of the dugout, and he has signaled to the bullpen, and they will make the pitching change, and the call to the bullpen will the Saints. So 5-4, Cougars in front, still 2 in scoring position and nobody out, and we'll take the pitching change break here on the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. Single, 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 double go the Cougars to start the bottom of the 6th inning, and they've taken Danny Brown out of the game, the ace right-hander for Flagler. Now staring on the losing end of a 5-4 score, and CSU not quite done yet, and they'll go to a new right-hander, Will Flagler.
Chris Lake, 5'11", 185-pound freshman out of Spring Hill, Florida.
And now Flagler will go with the infield basically all the way in with Tim Massengale at the plate. Tim pops the first one over our heads, out of play for strike 1.
This is his 9th appearance, comes in with an ERA of 1.80, a 0-0 record, 10 innings, 10 hits, 2 earned runs, 10 strikeouts, 2 walks.
Blake Edwards at second, Carson Bowers at third, and Massengale lines a hanging breaking ball into left center field. 1 run in. Here comes Blake Edwards to the plate. There's no throw. It's a 2-run single for Massengale, and the hit parade continues.
5 straight hits.
The Bats have woken up.
All those runs charged to Brown.
7-4, CSU in front now, still nobody out, and Brendan Collins to the plate. So you can close the book on Danny Brown now. Brendan Collins lays down a good bunt out in front of the plate. The catcher, Baez, will make the throw to first in time to retire Collins, but the sacrifice moves the runner into scoring position, and now there's 1 away.
Trying to move the runner over, but it was almost such a good bunt that he almost beat it out, but a good play by Baez.
So CSU gives Flagler the first out of the inning, and now Jackson Oliver will hit. 4 singles and a double start off the inning, and Oliver rolls the first one into the Saints dugout for strike 1. How quickly things turn. Jake Ezel was the one that was struggling through the first few innings, and Danny Brown the one that was cruising. Get to the middle stages, and Brown got roughed up in the dirt. Good stop by Baez. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Brown came in with a 2.53 ERA.
5 innings for him today, 7 runs, all earned on 10 hits. The 1-1 swing and a miss, actually tipped into the mid of Baez. Good breaking ball there from Lake. Jackson Oliver 1 for 3. How about the bottom half of the order for CSU? 9 hits out of the 5 through 9 spots. 1-2 pitch, breaking ball in the dirt, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
We talked about it earlier, but that's why your leadoff man has 24 RBIs, because those guys at the bottom of the order get on.
All 7 runs have been scored by your 5, 6, 7, and 8 hitters in the order. 7-4, Columbus State in front. That one's in the dirt. Again blocked, but the count goes full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. 7 runs, 11 hits, 2 errors for Columbus State. 4 runs, 5 hits, 1 error for Flagler. Chris Lake, the pitcher, trying to get Flagler out of this at just a 3-run game. Tim Massengale, after the 2-run single, stands out at second. 7-4, Columbus State in front of the 8th-ranked team in the country. Full count offering. And I believe that one hit the back foot of Jackson Oliver, and that's actually unfortunate, because had it just been ball 4, it squirted away, and Tim Massengale was going to scoot over to third. As it is, he'll have to come back to second base.
Second hit batter by Saints pitching today.
First and second. Still only 1 out, and Mike McClellan will dig in now. How about the fact that CSU has 7 runs on 11 hits, and Mike McClellan and Blaine Miller, 3 and 4 in the order, are 0 for 6. McClellan started to offer at the first breaking ball, was able to hold back though, and it's out of the zone for a ball. How important is it that the Cougars go ahead and get in front now? When they lead after 6 innings, they are 17-1 on the season. When they're trailing after 6, they are 0-6.
I like those odds.
The time was now to get in front as McClellan fouls the pitch off.
Their closer has 5 saves on the season.
Which doesn't sound like much, but for college baseball, that's a good number.
Mm-hmm.
The 1-1 to Mike. Hit in the air towards right center field and shallow. 3 players converging. It's the right fielder, Kranick, that comes to get it. And Mike's had a tough day. That's 0 for 4 now for the big right-hander. Runners stay put. Now there's 2 down. Cougars have batted around now, though. This will be number 9 in the inning. Blaine Miller will dig in. Working on an 0 for 3 day so far. The 9th man to hit in the inning. 2 on and 2 out. Already 4 runs in here in the 6th. First pitch high and tight for ball 1.
First time the Cougars have been home in 17 days, and they like the home cooking today so far.
It feels even longer than that. It feels like a month ago that they were last here when I believe it was Stillman was in town.
It was.
And that wasn't even supposed to be a home game. As Miller calls time and steps out. That was supposed to be over in Tuscaloosa at Stillman, but their field was underwater, and so Greg Appleton nicely volunteered to bring it here. Breaking ball hits the outside corner. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two away in the inning. It's Tim Massengale out at second. Jackson Oliver on at first. CSU entered the inning trailing 4-3, and now Jake Ezel is in line for the victory as they lead 7-4. Runners not really being held on at all. Another off-speed pitch. Trails off the plate outside. 2 balls and a strike. Outfield playing Miller straight away, but playing him deep. As Lake takes a long time to get his sign, finally comes set. The 2-1 is away with a fastball, 3-1.
Another right-hander in the bullpen for the Saints, and that is Justin Rattay.
3-1 outside corner will push the count full and go ahead and put a quarter in the merry-go-round because on the pitch, everybody on the move. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, 2 on. Get them moving. Runners take off, and Miller swings through the outside fastball. So Blaine down on strikes, but the Cougars send 9 to the plate. 5 of them get hits. 4 runs come in to score, and CSU leads 7-4 after 6 here on the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540.
And back at Ragsdale Field at Cougar Stadium, the Cougars have turned the game around after trailing 4-1, lead at 7-4 as we head to the top of the 7th inning. I hesitate to take it from you. You did rather nicely in the middle innings there.
Just don't screw it up.
If I had a nickel for every time somebody in my life said, just don't screw it up, I could be sitting on a beach somewhere right now. All right. Jake Ezel has really turned his game around this afternoon. First pitch is outside, ball 1.
Jake just letting it fly, too. That was pitch number 117.
And the next is outside, 2-0 to Colin McMillan, 1 for 3 on the afternoon. Is that Ferguson back up?
It is Ferguson still throwing.
2-0 pitch, misses outside, 3-0.
I would think the leash is rather tight here at this point. When you reach the 120 pitch mark, you struggle, and I think it's time to go.
Wind blowing straight in again. The 3-0 is in there, taking all the way for a called strike, 3-1. McMillan singled in a run in the second. Jake working quickly. The 3-1 pitch, fouled it away, 3-2.
And then a right-hander up and throwing as well, but that light pole is as centered up could be.
Yeah, we've got, it's kind of difficult to see in both of the bullpens from our angle. Pitches downstairs for ball 4, so a leadoff walk here in the 7th.
That's his 7th walk, but it's his first in a while. It's been some time since he issued number 6.
7 walks and 7 strikeouts. The first 3 innings he struggled. He really settled down in the next 3, and now a a leadoff walk here. Lorenzo Butler 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts on the day. Pitches in the dirt. 1-0.
I believe that's Sean Muller that's up and throwing again.
He was up earlier, way back in the, I think it was the 3rd inning.
Trey Watson's also lurking. He's the one posted up on the fence down there.
The 1-0 at the knees for a called strike on the outside corner.
That might have been a gift. I'm not sure his knees are quite that low.
I would say honesty compels me to tell you that was a 9-iron pitch right there. Maybe a wedge. There's another one. Same spot. 1-2.
I don't think either side's really been happy with the strike zone, so at least they're consistent.
Yeah, consistently inconsistent. A ball and 2 strikes. Ezel to the belt, to the plate. Breaking ball, tried to get him to chase one. He laid off. Nice job by Blaine Miller to slide out to his right and keep it in front of him.
You'd think this is the last inning for Jake if he can get through it.
Count even now, 2-2. Runner leads from first. Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
He went away, 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 and finally came back and challenged him with a fastball inside, and Butler couldn't catch up to it.
8th strikeout. Here's Nick Kranick, the right fielder. 0 for 2 with a walk. Ezel checks the runner, and the pitch fouled back to the screen. Jake's not only from the first 3 innings, after the first 3 innings, not only is what he's produced been much better, it's just his whole body language and everything else has been so much better. Pitch, fastball, misses outside.
And his pace has been so much better. It's less thinking and walking around and messing with things and a lot more get the ball, throw it, get the ball, throw it. That's the way your defense would prefer your pitcher to be, and that's the way your broadcasters would prefer your pitcher to be.
Well, he battled. He very easily could have let this game slip away, but he battled and kept his team into the game until the offense could awaken. The pitch misses outside, and it's 2-1. Runner leads from first again. The 2-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. 2-2.
You can see he still has good velocity because he's just reaching back right now and throwing it by hitters. It's just a matter of whether or not he finds that strike zone.
Jake back up on top. And the 2-2 pitch. Outside. Took a little bit off of it. Runs the count full. 3-2. The senior out of Bonaire, Georgia. That wind blowing straight in at the moment. It's been swirling all day. And the payoff pitch popped him up and out of play over toward the tennis courts. Tennis teams are out of town today. At Armstrong today?
At Armstrong and at Flagler tomorrow. So today is the big day, though.
Yeah. That's who everybody shoots for. 3-2 pitch on the way again. Late, fouled it away. Another game to play today, and then the game to wrap up the series tomorrow at 1. Called strike 3 on the outside corner. Kranick had taken about 4 steps down the first and shouts something over his shoulder at the plate umpire as he carries the bat back to the dugout.
Second time he's been unhappy with a call. Both times, though, they looked like pretty good pitches.
Yeah, certainly too close to take with 2 strikes on you. That's 9 strikeouts, and so after a leadoff walk, a couple of strikeouts, and the third baseman, Todd Giuliano. Pitches high, snap throw from Blaine Miller is bounced down the first, and Chris Daniel takes one off his chest to keep it in front of him.
I love the way that Chris got in front of that. He had no intention of catching that ball. He dropped down like a hockey goalie.
Yep.
just put his hands down and said, just let me wear this one.
Or played it like a third baseman might, taking that sharp hopper off his chest, pitches high. 2-0.
It has been feast or famine for Jake Ezel. 67 strikes, 70 balls.
7 walks, 9 strikeouts now. The 2-0 pitch. That's a strike. That low strike on the outside corner that the plate umpire has made everyone so happy with today.
Sometimes it's good to be as wild as he is, though, because it can change the way the hitter goes up there and approaches it. Doesn't expect things to be in the zone, so when you finally are there, they're not ready for it.
2-1, and the plate umpire, after that pitch was called a strike, somebody in the Saints dugout said something. He took some steps over and pointed. And now the third base coach, and again, he's got the jacket on, so I can't tell if this is the head coach or not.
I believe it is. I believe that is Mr. Barnett.
28 years there. He gets a parting shot over his shoulder back to the umpire, and the umpire took his mask off and barked right back at him. So Christmas card list being exchanged here at Ragsdale Field.
I'm sure there'll be a nice handwritten note.
2 balls and a strike, and now the batter asked for and is granted time.
He just stepped in the box.
Had plenty of time to get ready since the last pitch. The 2-1, there's a line drive off of the glove of Blake Edwards at short, and everybody's safe. Blake kind of ducked at the last minute on that one. I don't know if he lost it in somebody's shirt behind home plate or not.
That ball looked like it was knuckling the whole way out there to him.
So that will bring up Nick Oberg with runners at first and second and 2 down now. He's 0 for 3 on the day. There's a strike on the inside corner at the knees. Jake checks the runner out at second, and the pitch, breaking ball in the dirt. Good job by Blaine Miller to keep that in front of him. Count even, 1-1. All the kids from the Odyssey of the Mind going on at CSU today. The 1-1 breaking ball, a beauty, dropped in on the inside corner, 1-2. Usually that's kind of similar when I'm talking to people talk about my mind. It's usually the odd mind instead of the odyssey of the mind, but I take it as a compliment nonetheless. The 1-2 pitch is chopped toward the second baseman, Bowers. Fields throws, and he got him. Nice play, Carson Bowers. So nothing doing for the Saints in the 7th. They get a couple of men on, but strand him. Ezel works out of it. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Time to stretch in game 1 as the Cougars lead Flagler 7-4. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540.
Columbus State University, committed to excellence in the classroom and on the court.
Bottom of the 7th inning in Ragsdale, 7-4. Columbus State leads Flagler, and we've got a new pitcher.
Justin Rattay, the new right-hander, 6 foot, 165-pound senior out of Gulf Breeze, Florida. This will be his 7th appearance of the year, all in relief. He's 1-0 on the season with a 1.93 ERA and 9 1/3.
Third pitcher for the Saints today, and the crowd here whipped into a frenzy by the singing of "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" during the 7th inning stretch by Will. There's only one thing I want to know. What did Will do with that money that we gave him for singing lessons? He didn't spend it on the singing lessons, did he? But he gets an A for effort. Here is Chris Daniel to lead it off. He led off the 6th inning when the Cougars batted around. The pitch is inside for ball one with a leadoff single. Will's a piece of work, isn't he? I think the kids enjoyed it, though.
There's still a lot of them here. I'm impressed.
Pitch is in there for a strike.
We have Columbus Little League Day coming up, I believe, next week at the ballpark, next Friday night.
And the pitch taken down low.
And April 3rd, next Friday night, when Georgia Southwestern's in town, any Little Leaguer or any youngster that's around the Columbus area is welcome at the ballpark.
Next pitch is fouled back and out of play.
Of course, games here in the regular season are always free, but I believe they're going to let the youngsters out on the field for the national anthem. And there are going to be poster giveaways and autograph session after the game. It was a big hit last year, and there's been a phenomenal response to the number of people that will be here next Friday night.
Well, the kids really love that, so I'm looking forward to seeing that on Friday.
There has been a outstanding response from the 5 Little Leagues in town here in Columbus that will be sending their teams out in large quantities.
Chris digs back in there. A couple of hits on the afternoon and a soft liner to the shortstop. I thought he was going to have number 3 on the day, but it didn't get up enough as Nick Oberg made the play.
Hit it well, but at the wrong person.
And Matt Nettles, who also singled and scored in that 6th inning. 4-run 6th. So the next conference series, Georgia Southwestern here next weekend. Pitches in there for a strike. Friday single game and then doubleheader on Saturday. And between that, we've got, there's first pitch is lined into right center for a base hit, rounding the bag, taking a big turn, but he's going to scamper back and be satisfied with a 1-out single. So we've got Point University coming in here on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We will not broadcast that. And then the Cougars will be on the road at AUM on Wednesday and back here on Friday, April the 3rd. Carson Bowers. He's had a pretty good day, hasn't he? Couple of singles, triple, run driven in, 2 runs scored.
5, 6, 7, and 8, all with at least 2 hits.
Pitches in there for a called strike.
Hey, you look at that series with Georgia Southwestern next week, and you look at what you have still to come with Georgia Regents coming to town, and those are the reasons you look at it and say CSU still has a chance to make up some ground and be in a good spot when the conference tournament rolls around.
We're at the halfway mark coming into this series. 15 in the books, 15 still to be played. The pitch is fouled away. We've got Montevallo on the road. They're hovering 1 game over 500 overall going into this weekend. We close out with Armstrong on the road. They're having a fine season. Always a tough place to play. Throw to first. He's back standing.
You look at it, though, and if you can take care of business against Southwestern, who entered today at 2-16 in conference play, Georgia Regents is just 3-9. Those are series that you can easily get sweeps in if you take care of business on your home turf.
The 0-2 pitch lifted into the outfield and right center. That's trouble. That's going to split the gap and hit the base of the wall. That's going to get another run home. And into second with an RBI double is Carson Bowers, and he's a home run away from the cycle.
Have a day, young man. 4 for 4.
And it's 8-4. RBI double, RBI single, a triple, single.
Hey, we were talking before the day how spring break and kind of the break in between basketball to baseball has kind of slowed us down a little bit. Well, it took the Cougars a few minutes to wake up as well.
Here's Blake Edwards, has a couple of hits and 3 RBIs on the day. The pitch is downstairs, 1-0. Pounded out 13 hits now. CSU trailed 4-1 in this ball game, going to the bottom of the 5th, but it exploded since then.
That's the thing the paper doesn't tell you. Paper says CSU's not having a great year, but it doesn't tell you what this team is, though, when they're playing well.
Swung on and fouled back to the screen, 1-1.
Remember, this is the same team plus a few pieces that last year won every Peach Belt Conference Series, won 40 games, and was 1 game away from being in the World Series.
Playing in the championship game of the regional that got started at 11:05 p.m. on a Sunday night over in Greenwood. There's a roller to the shortstop. Fields throws a little low, but a nice scoop at first by Skylar Fox for the out.
Yeah, did a nice job. Otherwise, CSU's even more business going on.
And on the play, Bowers moves to third. Here's Tim Massengale. He had a big hit in that 4-run 6th inning with a 2-run single as he greeted the first relief pitcher that the Saints used on the day. A couple of strikeouts before that for Tim today. And the pitch is in there for a called strike 1. So let's see if we can get a 2-out hit from Tim Massengale to tack another run on, leading at 8-4 as we play in the bottom of the 7th in game 1 of the doubleheader today. The 0-1 pitch downstairs, 1-1 as we look ahead to the remaining conference games. And you know, you go into each series saying you just want to win the series, just want to take 2 out of 3. Well, it's Georgia Southwestern and Georgia Regents. We need to sweep those 2 series. The 1-1 is high, 2-1.
And there's no reason to think you can't do that. You know, nothing that those 2 teams have done this season makes you think that that's an impossible task.
Top 8 teams will make the Peach Belt Conference tournament, which will be held right here in Columbus. The pitch is outside, and it's 3-1. Single elimination. It'll be a 2-day event, a Saturday and a Sunday, a combination of Ragsdale Field and Golden Park. CSU would play all of its games played in the tournament right here. The 3-1 off the glove, back to the screen, and that's going to get another run home. It's going to be a pass ball. It was not low. It was just outside, and it's 9-4 CSU.
That was one that I think Baez was just trying to frame on the outside corner, and it just tipped off the edge of his mitt and went to the backstop.
So that gets Massengale at first on the walk and back to the top of the order, and Brendan Collins struck out his first 2 times, but then an RBI single and then a sacrifice bunt. And the off-speed pitch is high, 1-0. Winner of the tournament gets the automatic bid to the NCAA Regional. 1-0 pitch, fouled away, 1-1.
And as we've talked, it's important to get that because as we were discussing prior to the game starting, those bids are going to be hard to come by in the at-large portion with how many teams in the Southeast region are playing such good ball right now.
And it's only 6 teams in baseball in the regional, unfortunately. We wish they would change that to 8 like basketball, but just 6. The 1-1 is high, 2-1. Erskine and Mount Olive out of conference, having outstanding seasons. Two-one pitch in there for a called strike.
This Flagler team and Armstrong have both positioned themselves nicely. Barring a ton of losses the rest of the way, they've positioned themselves in a nice position for an at-large bid should they need it.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2-2 pitch, swing and a miss. Struck him out, actually got a piece of it and fouled it back into the glove of Baez. But the Cougars pick up a couple of more runs here in the 7th inning, and we have played 7 in game number 1 today at Ragsdale. Columbus State 9, Flagler 4. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. Top of the 8th inning, 9-4 CSU, and the Cougars with a new pitcher.
It is 6'3", left-handed senior Caden Ferguson out of Ackworth, Georgia. Caden used to be the number 2 in the CSU starting rotation. He would generally get the call in the second game of today's doubleheader, but the rotation change has moved him to the bullpen. He has a 4.5 ERA. He's 2-2 on the season, 19 earned runs in 38 innings pitched with 38 strikeouts. So now he becomes a very nice tool to have in the 8th inning.
And Sean Hendon shows bunt and takes a strike. Had Massengale move again from third. Boy, Jake Ezel really battled him today. He didn't have his good stuff. He struggled through the first 3 innings, gave up 4 runs during that time. Pitches in there for a strike, but he just absolutely shut him down after that.
By the way, that noise, that is your buddy on the lawnmower. I just saw him rolling down the sidewalk.
Oh, man. There's a ball. One hopper sharply hit to the first baseman, Chris Daniel. He'll field it nicely, run to the bag, and step on it for out number 1.
I told him you were coming, so he had to make sure he was going to be here.
This guy, it seems like every single game last year we broadcast, he was out there on the lawnmower.
Friday, Saturday games, weekend series.
Yeah.
He had to mow it twice.
He's a working fool, isn't he? Oh, he's out there all the time. Skylar Fox, the first baseman. And the pitch is in there for a strike. He's 1 for 3 today. That's like back at our morning show, the Valley's Morning News with Wes Carroll and I. We've got our studio is right next to the street. The pitch is in there for a strike. We're on the end of the building. It's 0-2, and there's a guy, a leaf blower, out there once a week, and there may not be a leaf in sight. There's a pitch is lifted high and deep, twisting foul and out of play over the bullpen. But he knows, I guarantee you, he has the radio, he has some headphones on, listening to the radio. He knows when we turn the mic on, that's when the machine cranks up. And he's texting his buddies, hey, that's me on the radio right now.
Hear that noise? That's me.
Without fail.
He's got to get his airtime in.
That's it. The 0-2 almost hit him inside. He had to jackknife to get out of the way, 1-2. We've got the cleanest sidewalk in town right in front of our studio building. 1-2, tried to drop in a breaking ball on the outside corner, stayed a little outside, 2-2. Caden was, you could tell down in the bullpen, he was anxious to get in this game. The 2-2 swing and a miss, blew a fastball by him up and out of the strike zone. Struck him out.
And so while you lose him from the starting rotation, all of a sudden you have a nasty, nasty left-hander coming out, and all of a sudden your bullpen goes left in the 8th and 9th inning if this is where Caden settles in at.
And you don't see that very often. Here's the pitch to Baez outside, 1-0. He's 1 for 2, a single and a walk.
Although we may not see Trey Watson in this one with a 5-run lead. Just hang on to him.
The 1-0 pitch is chopped down the third base line, just foul. A diving attempt by Tim Massengale, but the ball just missed the bag.
Jake Ezel's down there in the bullpen. He does realize his day is done, right? He can hang out in the dugout. He's not a reliever anymore.
Yeah. He just wants to hang out with the guys. It's a full bullpen down there because it's in the sun. They're trying to all stand in the sun.
That's what it is. You found it.
Yep. It is cold in that dugout in the shade with that wind blowing in there. It's cold in the sun, but especially in the shade.
And you got to work on the tan, too. You know, we're coming up on the summer.
Get that bullpen tan down there. Pitch is fouled away, back toward the rec center. Ball and 2 strikes.
I just love the foul balls and watching the young kids run to the top of the bleachers to see who can get it. I mean, they're not even going after it. They just want to watch someone go chase it.
The pitch just misses the outside corner. 2-2. Caden back up on top. The youngster out of Ackworth swung on, just got a piece of it. The foul it back to the screen.
And we haven't mentioned it yet, so we haven't hit our quota. But we would like to make mention that someone's going to have to clean Blake Edwards' uniform.
Yes, right.
We had to hit our quota.
He's like Pigpen. Fouled it back to the screen. And in baseball, that's a good thing. He was that kid growing up. If there was a speck of dirt to be found, he found it. Not again, his mom would say. The 2-2 is pulled foul.
Team went up to Emerson, Georgia on Wednesday to take on Lee in a non-conference game up at that new Lake Point baseball complex that I believe the Perfect Game organization runs. All turf field. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah. He found some dirt somewhere.
If he got dirty that night, I'm impressed.
He found some dirt somewhere.
Because from what I was told, that thing was turf head to toe, mound, batter's box, everything.
Wow. 2-2, reached for it, pulled it to third. Massengale on the grass, throws a little low, but nice low scoop by Chris Daniel, and a 1-2-3 inning for Caden Ferguson. So we go to the bottom of the 8th inning here in game number 1 this afternoon at Ragsdale Field. Columbus State leading Flagler 9-4. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. All right, we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. 9-4, Columbus State on top after trailing 4-1 in this game. Game 1 of the doubleheader. And Jackson Oliver, Mike McClellan, and Blaine Miller, 2, 3, and 4 in the order due up for the Cougars here, looking to get some insurance. And the first pitch from Rattay is down inside, 1-0. Mackie Mason, our studio producer, working his first baseball game as a board op, studio producer. The 1-0 is downstairs. A little more leisurely pace, isn't it? 2-0.
I used to do that a few years back.
2-0 hits him right in the thigh. Second time today that Jackson has been hit, and the third time that the Saints have plunked a Cougar batter. Here's big Mike McClellan. They start to stir around a little bit on the hill behind the left field fence. Looking for his first hit of the day. A couple of strikeouts, a couple of flyouts. Breaking ball in on his hands and fouled it down over the Saints bullpen on the first base side.
When I was studio producing, though, it was the reason I had to do it was because it was day games. It was for a AA team up in Tennessee. And that was back when I was working the 5 to 9 morning shift also. So it was, I would have preferred a faster pace. There's nothing like trying to stay awake and listening for your cue to hit the button on the commercial.
With the morning show looming just around the corner. Throw over to first again. Back-to-back throws over there, back easily. We'll have about 30 minutes or so between games and back to some normal programming. And Mackey will be busy switching a couple things back and forth there. Swing and a miss. He's upset with himself because not a good pitch and went after it. 0-2. Throw to first. Back safely again.
A lot of attention being paid to Jackson Oliver, who has run all of 5 times this year.
With your team trailing by 5 in the bottom of the 8th. Pitch is bounced off the side of the mound. Shortstop Fields. Backhanded flip to second to 1. On to first 2 to double play. You got a break when it hit the side of the mound and kicked up for him a little bit, but a fine play nonetheless by Nick Oberg, who backhanded it to the second base bag to start that double play.
Yeah, I don't think Mike hit it all that hard either. I think it looked harder hit than it actually was. It came off the end of his bat. But it was well done all the way around. His flip was put right on the bag, and the throw to first was right on the money.
So a couple down now. Here's Blaine Miller looking for his first hit of the day. Pitches in there for a strike. He grounded the short his first time up, and then has been a strikeout victim the next 3 times. Breaking ball missed outside. Blaine's older brother played football at West Point for Army and is a proud graduate of West Point this past summer. The 1-1 is chopped up the middle and in the center field for a base hit. So Blaine is off the schneid today.
That means 8 of the 9 Cougar starters now with a hit.
And hit number 14.
That's just the 3rd hit, though, out of the top 4 spots in the batting order. This right here is where the lineup really is kicked into high gear.
Chris Daniel, he has a couple of singles on the day. And the first pitch to Chris Misses for ball one. Lane gets his lead over at first. And the pitch, sharply hit ball to the shortstop, had him shaded toward the second base bag. Oberg to his knees, makes the play, runs to the bag to step on it for out number 3. So nothing doing for the Cougars here in the 8th inning. We head to the 9th, and we got a Hold'em Cougars, Columbus State 9, Flagler 4. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540. So indeed, Caden Ferguson will try to finish the game with the Cougars up 9-4 in the top of the 9th.
I'd say he earned it after the 8th inning he put together. 17 pitches thrown, 13 of them went for strikes, and he had an easy way through that inning.
And for the Saints here, top of the order, Andrew Broadbeck. 1 hit and a couple of walks on the afternoon.
It doesn't hurt either that the first 2 that he'll face in this inning are left-handed also.
The big lefty kicks and fires. Misses for ball 1.
You know, after the 3rd inning or so, this is the Cougar team we were used to seeing and expected to see this year.
1-0 pitch. Just missed outside, 2-0. Just a note to our producer, Mackey, we will, at the end of this half inning, barring a tying rally by the Saints, we will not take a break. We'll keep it here and wrap the game up 3-0, but Caden's got some work to do first. 3-0 pitch, taking all the way, and a strike. Again, 30 minutes or so between games. 3-1 is pulled just inside the bag at first. Another nice play by Chris Daniel. Grabs it, runs to the bag, steps on it for out number 1.
A nice job to battle back there. The last thing you want to do in a 5-run game in the 9th inning is walk the leadoff man. And Caden challenged him after falling behind 3-0 and gets rewarded.
Colin McMillan with 1 hit on the afternoon in this first game. The DH for the Saints. Pitches inside, 1-0. So the Cougars found themselves down 4-1 going to the bottom of the 5th inning against a guy who ran out there with a 2.53 ERA on the day. Pitches in there for a strike. And at that point, things didn't look too good for Cougar fans, but boy, what a turnaround. 1-1 pitch, lifted into the air in shallow right field. Jackson Oliver in, sunglasses gleaming, loses his cap again. He might need a chin strap, but he makes the catch.
Did you see him? He reached up once and held it on. Then he realized, oh, well, I better use 2 hands to make this grab. And then when he let go, there went the hat again.
Oh, boy. We got to get a size smaller out there or something. Got that, Willie Mays with the cap flying off. So 2 down, the Cougars an out away from a big opening win in this 3-game series against the 8th-ranked team in the country. Butler takes the first pitch outside 1-0. The next one is inside, and it's 2-0.
It's like a big momentum and confidence booster because you had the ace for the other team going out there, and you hit him around the ballpark.
2-0 pitch is in there for a called strike. It's 2-1.
And now you're set up with who's been your number 1 all year, set to go in game number 2 today.
And it's the pivotal game of the 3-game set. The 2-1 pitch. Fouled it back to the screen. 2-2. So the Cougars perhaps a strike away from putting one in the win column here.
It's a plus or a minus depending on how you look at it, but you can win the series or lose it on day 1 here today, and that's the benefit if CSU can get game 1.
2 balls, 2 strikes. The pitch on the way to the plate is high all the way back to the screen. 3-2.
Just bypassed home plate and was actually headed for the backstop.
Good thing the mascot wasn't back there. Cody would have been knocked out. The payoff pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. He struck him out, and the Cougars win. CSU comes from behind to defeat 8th-ranked Flagler and win the opening game 9-4.
That was an impressive 2-inning stint there for Mr. Ferguson.
So game 1 is in the book, and Stephen has a look at the totals.
For Columbus State, it's 9 runs on 14 hits and 3 errors. For Flagler, it was 4 runs on 5 hits, 1 error. The win will belong to Jake Ezel. For Jake, he'll be 4-1 now on the season. 7 innings pitched for him, 4 runs allowed. 3 of those were earned on 5 hits. He walked 7, but he was a strikeout machine in the latter half of his outing as he recorded 9 strikeouts. The loss to Danny Brown, who drops to 6-3 on the season. He went 5 innings, gave up 7 runs on 10 hits, did not walk anybody, and struck out 8.
2 hours and 46 minutes to put this one in the win column today. And again, we'll go back to our studio about 30 minutes or so between games before we come back here for game number 2 of the doubleheader. Once again, the final score, CSU wins the opening game 9-4. This is the flagship station of the CSU Sports Network, News Radio 540.